What's up, guys? So something happened the other day that I never thought would happen in a million years. I can't even believe I'm saying this right now, but Trisha Paytas and Gabbie Hanna have finally sat down and talked about their years-long drama. It's a mess, so let's get into it.
Exposed. You're exposed. You're exposed. You are exposed. Exposed. You are exposed, sir. I'm going to expose you. Expose you. Oh my God, expose you.
So Gabbie Hanna and Trisha Paytas have had drama with each other for years now. It started back in 2019 when Gabbie Hanna posted this.
I have a genuine question that I want to ask the general public. If somebody tells you that somebody has an STD, an incurable STD, it comes from a close friend of theirs, a source, and then you find out that a friend of yours is with them, is it wrong of you to say, hey, just so you know, I've heard this, don't know if it's true, but this person told me, talk to them about it, ask about it. Is that f***ed up?
Everyone online ended up finding out it was Trisha Paytas Gabbie was talking about, and the situation quickly went downhill. Trisha Paytas posted a video titled "Why I Don't Trust Gabbie Hanna" and literally dragged her. In this video, Trisha says she doesn't have an STD and never has, and it was just a nasty rumor spread by Gabbie. This drama caused a major divide between fans of Gabbie and Trisha. On one hand, some people thought it was totally fine to tell a close friend that the person they were seeing might have an STD, especially if that information came from a close, trusted friend. On the other hand, a lot of people felt like Trisha and Jason were both adults that were in charge of their own sexual health, and Gabbie had no business telling Jason something that she didn't know to be 100% true. Gabbie did end up explaining her reasoning for warning Jason, writing, "The thing here is that it wasn't her at risk, and she wasn't my friend at the time. And I wasn't about to approach her with it and start drama. I wanted to tell him to have a combo if it felt necessary, but at least be aware and make his own decision." This drama went on forever, and it just kept getting bigger and more people kept getting dragged into the mess. The crazy thing is that it's being said that it was actually Shane Dawson who told Gabbie about Trisha having an STD. At first, Trisha totally didn't believe this. She even said on Frenemies back in September that she didn't believe it.
Do you have you don't have herpes?
I don't have herpes, and I would first of all, she wouldn't know. I never was her friend. Then she tried to blame it on Shane telling her that I had herpes, which that's not true, but she tried to blame him because she's crazy.
But knowing what we know about Shane and Trisha, it doesn't sound too hard to believe. Anyways, it really didn't seem like Trisha and Gabbie would ever make up, be friends, or even fully move on from the situation. Until this week. Gabbie Hanna shocked everyone and uploaded a podcast sitting down and talking with Trisha Paytas in the same room, and they both made it out alive. I have a lot of thoughts on this podcast, but first, let me give you guys a little summary of what went down. In the podcast, Trisha starts off by saying she doesn't regret what happened between her and Gabbie because it truly did bother her for a really long time. According to Gabbie, she actually apologized right when Trisha confronted her about telling Jason, but Trisha thinks otherwise.
Because I think I was having breakdowns online, and you're like, why don't you want to be my friend? And I was like, this is why. And then you were just like, oh, I'm not sorry. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like,
I didn't say I wasn't sorry. I said sorry.
No, not in those initial
in the
DMs.
DM, I said
you're like, I don't think I did anything wrong. That's a friend.
Well, no, I think the problem was my apology was also followed up with I was looking out for a friend. And that
Gabbie says she never meant to hurt Trish, and if she hadn't known that it would have hurt her this much, she would have never told Jason anything. To me, it really seemed like Gabbie was starting to really understand and see why Trisha was so upset with her. She says if she was the one on the receiving end of that rumor, she would have been so mad if someone was going around telling her boyfriend that she had herpes. Gabbie mentions that the source that she got the rumor from seemed really credible at the time, which makes me think it was definitely Shane Dawson. Gabbie did end up apologizing to Trisha, and it seemed like the podcast was off to a really great start.
it's just I just wish I hadn't handled it in that way. And I'm sorry. Like, that's it. Like,
Okay, well, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
They then moved on to the things that Trisha has done to hurt or upset Gabbie. Trisha says that she truly doesn't remember if she's done anything to Gabbie that needs to be apologized for. She asked Gabbie to remind her if there's anything that she's forgotten about. Gabbie mentions the comment that Trisha made about how she's never going to have a successful music career purely because of her age, and she says that really got to her. Trisha kind of chalks it up to being the internet, and she didn't expect the comment to make Gabbie so upset. She says people say stuff like that to her all the time, and she doesn't let it get to her, so she didn't expect it to get to Gabbie. During the podcast, Trisha made a comment along the lines of Gabbie should be happy or okay with the drama surrounding her name, because if people are talking about you, you're doing good. And if they aren't talking about you, you're probably irrelevant. Gabbie actually claims to have had the opposite experience. After the drama with Trisha, she says her views went down and people were tweeting her saying they loved her music, but ultimately had to remove her songs from their playlist because of the drama. Gabbie then brings up some of the claims that Trisha made about her during the drama. Trisha kind of made Gabbie out to be this crazy stalker who was trying to desperately be her friend and even invited herself to her birthday party. According to Gabbie, that's not true, and her and Trisha were kind of friends. She says they talked a lot and even talked about some personal stuff like relationships. Gabbie claims she never showed up to Trisha's birthday party uninvited because Trisha actually did invite her and messaged her telling her to come. Unfortunately, Trisha doesn't remember any of this. According to Gabbie, Trisha would buy clothes and text Gabbie telling her that she bought certain things because she saw Gabbie wearing them in her videos and would even tweet her frequently. This is the part where I literally just had to pause and walk away because I felt so awkward even watching this. Trisha claimed that these tweets must have been photoshopped because she literally has no memory of this friendship.
Yeah, like you would send me texts like about how like, oh, I bought this shirt because you wore it in your video. I bought this necklace because you wore it in your video.
Oh,
and, like,
damn. Okay.
Like you've like tweeted before that like every time me and Gabbie hang out, we never get a selfie together. And I'm like we were friends. I thought
maybe these are like Photoshop tweets because I definitely never said
no, they're
that.
still up.
Gabbie admitted later on that she must have mistaken Trisha being nice and replying to her as a genuine friendship, when in Trisha's head, it was probably just nothing. Trisha says multiple times she's boyfriend obsessed and truly doesn't want any girlfriends. They ended off the podcast with a really awkward debate about how women are treated in the music industry. Trisha feels like once you're 30 years old, you're way past your time to become famous and have a great career. She says she'd rather watch young girls become famous because it's more interesting opposed to someone in their 30s. Gabbie got into a little bit of a heated debate with her about that one. Gabbie thinks that the reason people feel like that is because of the misogyny that's been instilled in our brains when it comes to older women in the music industry. Her argument is that a man at any age could become famous and it's seen as normal, but Hollywood puts this weird cap on women and it's just not right. I think the point Gabbie was trying to make flew right over Trisha's head a bit, but then again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So let's talk about this. Overall, I think it's great they both got to sit down and actually talk to each other in person. I feel like sitting together in person is so much more productive than going on the internet and going back and forth with each other for 2 years. Trisha even said herself, now that she sat down with Gabbie, it's kind of humanized her and she doesn't feel like some fake person over the internet. I watched the whole interview twice before doing this video, and I gotta say, I feel like in the past 2 years, Gabbie has really changed for the better. Even though all the drama she's gone through these past 2 years has been really hard on her, she still reached out to Trisha and invited her on her show, and I think she handled it really well. She was mature and level-headed, but still stood her ground when she needed to. I will say though, I do think Trisha had her walls up just a little bit in this podcast. I didn't feel like she was totally engaging in the conversation with Gabbie, and it almost felt like she wasn't really present for the topics. I think someone like Shook could probably make a 30-minute video compilation of Trisha Paytas saying, yeah, for all the responses to Gabbie. I can't say I blame her though, because they do have such a bad past together, but I just found some parts a little bit uncomfortable. And judging by the comments, a lot of people feel the same. Trisha had her walls up. I can hear it in her voice. I really wish that Trisha was capable of validating Gabbie's experience more. I found Gabbie very relatable and heartfelt here, but every time she would try and connect, Trisha would respond like, yeah, I don't really get that. I think Trisha's scared and awkward, but is trying to push through the interview and does want to move on, but she also doesn't feel like she's in the wrong, so it's going to be hard for them to actually move on. I don't know, I wish Trisha would have opened up more. She acts like stuff on the internet has never hurt her, but I don't think that's true. I think she relates to Gabbie more than she admitted in this. I honestly think Trisha and Gabbie just think and process things in two completely different ways. Gabbie seems to really go over situations and try and find a deeper meaning as to why they played out the way they did, and Trisha takes things more at face value. Someone in the comments mentioned how not everyone has to be some great philosopher with something meaningful to say all the time. The conversation was just a little bit mismatched. Anyways guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button because it really does help my channel, and I'll see you next time.